kingdom of God and its righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you.
Good morning. Good morning and welcome to the Ventura Center for Spiritual Living. I'm Reverend Bonnie Rose and it's great to see you here today. Let's stand up and we'll start our celebration service by singing This Is Our Heaven. It's a fairly new one, but you'll catch on. And here we go. And let us continue to breathe deeply and move within, opening our hearts, opening our minds, relaxing our bodies, so that we may be fully present and fully hear the words of our sacred reading.
The Uncommon Sense Way. An excerpt from Celebrate Yourself by Eric Butterworth. Common sense has been heralded as a logical and workable philosophy of life. But actually, it is the consensus of what is known. Thus, common sense is backward-looking logic. It is only because people have, from time to time, had the uncommon sense to renounce their past that they have made even halting steps in personal growth. It is only because we, as the human race, have been able to transcend our past performance that we have forsaken caves and primitive ways and progressed up the spiral of civilization. In the uncommon sense view of truth, we are not what we have been. We are what we can be. Since the mind of the infinite is within us, we are the mind of the infinite expressing as us. When we take the uncommon sense view, we can deal victoriously with life. We can know that we are made for mastery, for victory, for releasing the unborn possibility of limitless being. And so it is.
And so it is. Thank you. So opening up to that great possibility, which is truly the life of spirit, the life of that which we might call God or higher power, we might call love. Let us continue to breathe deeply and contemplate the I Am presence. The I Am presence is all of those things that I said. It is love, it is God, it is spirit. And it is who we are. That infinite spirit lives and moves and has its perfect being within each of us. And so we sing together, I am remembering who I am, and we remember this truth for ourselves, but we also remember it for all beings everywhere. Let us sing together, I am remembering. I am remembering who I am.
Will this day I be a blessing? Will this year be better than the last? Will I calm the voice that hounds me? Discard the demons of the past? Will I step out in my faith now and live the truth I've come to know? Throw these dreams into the river and let these 4 words help them flow. Singing, yes, God, I believe. Yes, God, I believe. Yes, God, I believe. Sing it with me now. Yes, God, I believe. Yes, God, I believe. Yes, God, I believe. Maybe it's a body that needs healing, a relationship that's worn, or a child that is in trouble. There's a friendship that's been torn. Here's a job that needs new vision, a bank account that needs belief. I don't gotta tell you all my problems, I just gotta rest in your relief. Singing, yes, God, I believe. Yes, God, I believe. Yes, God, I believe. Sing it with me now. Yes, God, I believe. Yes, God, I believe. Yes, God, I believe. I believe in your goodness. I believe in your grace. I believe that your power is flowing through me in this space. For you've given me guidance, and you gave me desire, and you would not have set this flame in my heart if I could not start a fire. So yes, I believe, Lord, I believe. Yes, I believe. God, I believe. Sing it with me now. Yes, God, I believe. Yes, God, I believe. Yes, God, I believe. Anything you want, anything you need, yes, God, I believe. Yes, God, I believe. Yes, God, I believe.
Oh, it's good to see everybody here today. Wonderful to see you. Beautiful faces. Do you know how beautiful you are? Will you just say, I am beautiful? I am beautiful. And now will you look at somebody and say, you are beautiful? You are beautiful. Okay, we got that covered. Okay, so the talk title this morning is Choose Faith When You Have No Faith. It's kind of weird, isn't it? Choose faith when you have no faith. You know, I get these things in the middle of the night, and I write them down, and then I send them to Annette to put in the program, and by the time Saturday comes around, when I look at what I'm supposed to talk about, I go, what? Choose faith when you have no faith? But I kind of like it because it feels a bit paradoxical to me, and it feels like a tangled hierarchy. Those of you who have been to the School of Ministry perhaps are familiar with that term, a tangled hierarchy, or some of you who have studied a bit of quantum physics may know that term. It's also called a strange loop. A strange loop. I am a strange loop. You are a strange loop. We're all a strange loop. But it's really like a sort of a paradoxical thing that you can't quite figure out, but the purpose of it is to kind of stretch you into a different view of reality. You know, it gets us out of our relative mind into a more absolute, infinite reality. The classic example of a tangled hierarchy is that picture by Escher of the hands drawing the hands. Has anybody seen that? You know, the hands are poised like this, and this hand is drawing this hand, and this hand is drawing this hand, right? You're like, what? How does that work, right? Another classic example of a tangled hierarchy is the phrase, I am a liar. I am a liar. Because if I'm a liar, am I lying about being a liar? In which case I'm not a liar? You know, so see, it's like that. And the same thing is I would say, true for the statement, choose faith when you have no faith. You don't ever have no faith. And I appreciate the double negative there. You don't ever have no faith, meaning that you always have faith in something. It's just that so often we are conditioned to have faith in that which is habitual to us. We are conditioned to have faith in common sense versus the infinite uncommon sense. We are conditioned to have faith in limitation and lack and God's inability to get it done. We're conditioned to have faith in believing that our problems are bigger than God. Is anybody struggling with that right now? Feeling like your problems or the problems of the world might be bigger than God? If you are, I invite you to lift that up to the light. And this morning, we'll see if we can change that a little bit, if we can shift it into a greater place of faith, a greater place of choosing faith in that which you want versus choosing faith, unconscious faith, in that which you do not want. We have opportunities all day long to do that. And so I hope that you take these words and practice these opportunities to think about what you would like to experience in life versus thinking about what you do not wish to experience in life. Right? In the Science of Mind teaching, this is going to be old news for some of you. It's going to be review, but it doesn't hurt to go over it from time to time. There's this thing called the creative process. And in fact, that symbol, which is covering there's a baptismal font up there when this used to be a Baptist church, by the way. If you ever want an adventure, go up there and look at the baptismal font. And if you're well, no, I won't say that. Don't turn the faucets on. But that Science of Mind symbol represents, it's a symbol of faith. And really what it means is that our thought creates reality. And I prefer to say that our thought creates our experience of reality. Our thought, which is the top layer, goes through that middle layer, and the middle layer is this thing called law. And then it creates form, which is the bottom layer. And the V, many people think it stands for Ventura, right? It stands for the movement of thought through the spiritual law into form. The movement of thought moving into form through spiritual law. Okay? So our thought, it's really our belief, creates our experience of reality. And belief is thought plus emotion, and I would say embodied emotion too. So we're engaged in body, mind, and spirit in creating our experience of reality. And the thing about law, about spiritual law, Ernest Holmes, our founder, was really big on talking about spiritual law, and he really, really believed in the law, and he urged us to really believe in spiritual law. And the spiritual law is, again, it is done unto you as you believe, or you receive as you believe, right? And I've noticed that a lot of us can really get behind, a lot of the other laws in the universe. There are laws of thermodynamics, there are laws of gravity. Many of us have complete faith in the law of gravity, right? If I were to pick up that vase, and I hope it's centered, or Annette I'll hear about it from Annette afterwards. If I were to pick up that vase and let go of it, you would, of course, expect it to fall on the ground and crack, right? So you'd urge me not to do that. Because the law of gravity is always working. It's always working for us. And it is working for us. Can you imagine if we were all just floating around this room? It might be fun for a while, but. So we believe in natural laws, in the system of laws that governs this universe that were created by spirit. Science was created by spirit, as far as I'm concerned. We believe in those laws with great, great power and great affirmation. Spiritual law is a little bit different. So I'm going to show you a metaphor about how we can learn to believe in spiritual law on a deeper level. Now, some of you may have noticed that we've put signs up over some of the rooms. We're naming the rooms in the center. It's what people do in India and in this place where I was in India, and so we started doing it here. And the sign above my office door is paradox, because many of you know that I like paradox. I started out with innocence, and then one of our board members, who shall remain nameless, said, "You've got to be kidding me." So I'm like, "Yeah, you're right, Diana." Oh, oops, not nameless. So I put up paradox instead. And it works for me, because in my office, I looked at what I could do to describe this metaphor that I want to describe for you, and I have all of these spiritual books, and I have Lord Krishna, and I have Jesus, and I have the Buddha, and I have all of these spiritual things going around, and I also have a rabbit cage, and I have 2 hula hoops. So we're going to learn about law, from the lowly hula hoop. Here it is. Ooh. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my history with the hula hoop. When I was a kid, I could not hula hoop. Is anybody here in that position? Does anybody believe that they cannot hula hoop? Well, I'm here to make believers out of you that you can hula hoop. And the reason that people can't hula hoop is that they don't work with the laws. First of all, the hula hoop is subject to gravity. If I were just to drop it, it would fall, right? And, because the hula hoop goes like that, most people think that they're supposed to go like this to make it go spinning. But you don't go like that. You rock back and forth, and that makes it spin. So here we go. When we spin it like this, right? I'm wearing my mic pack, right? You see I'm rocking back and forth, right? Thank you. Now, the thing about this is that you have to work with the law in order for it to work, and you have to believe in the law, but you don't necessarily have to know how the law works, right? I know that there are physical laws involved in this, that there's laws of momentum, and they said something about creating a stable base. So there's that. You don't necessarily. You have to believe in the law without knowing how it works, and that's how we are with spiritual law. But there's also that as you get more skilled, you can develop finesse in working with the laws of physics, with these physical laws. And the same thing is true for spiritual law. So keeping that in mind, I'm going to ask somebody who can do fancy things with her hula hoop without decapitating the front row, which is what I would do. I'm going to ask Jennifer to come up and do fancy things with her hula hoop. Jennifer, you look pained.
I didn't say it was a guarantee that there would be no decapitation.
Oh. Okay, I'll just step over here then. Yeah, brace yourselves in the front row there. Okay, yeah, go for it. Yeah, so Jennifer knows how to work more skillfully with law. Yeah. Woo, look at that. Look at that. You go, girl. Whoa. Thank you. That was beautiful. Thanks. You can just put it back there if you want. Thank you. No, you're great. You're great. You're my role model. And by the way, we are having a hula hoop class sometime in April, I believe, and Jennifer's going to teach it, right? Yeah. So, because the hula hoop, like anything else, has as much God as anything does, right? So again, the point is that the hula hoop, is like spiritual law. If you trust it completely and do what the teacher or the practitioner or the minister says to do in terms of spiritual law, then the law will work for you. The law is so powerful. The law is also a tangled hierarchy. The law is so consistent that if you don't believe in the law will work by not working. You get that? You know, people always ask me about, there's a verse in the Bible that's about the only unforgivable sin is to blaspheme against the Holy Spirit. And I have no scholarly training in this, but I just feel so intuitively that, first of all, there is no unforgivable sin, but if you are putting judgment into the law, then you are receiving judgment back. If you are putting unforgiveness into the law, then you are receiving unforgiveness back. You are experiencing unforgiveness. So the only unforgivable separation is to mess with the law and put something in it that you don't want and expect different results. Right? And how do we put something in the law? We do it with our thinking. We do it with our emotions, right? Thought plus emotion equals belief. We do it with our belief. So you're all going to start doing that right now, right? Right? Okay? Yes, God, I believe. I believe in the good. I believe that there is one life. There is one life that is powerful. I believe in one life that is on our side, that is on everybody's side, that is constructing this wholeness that sometimes looks like darkness and sometimes looks like light, but it is always there, working for the greater good. There is one consciousness operating through us, cultivating wholeness, cultivating wholeness that is so beautiful that we can't even imagine it. Can you just breathe into the energy of that and feel the beauty of that and feel the love of that you are so loved just as you are, that even your flaws are perfect. That's why I talk about flaws so much here. It's just about self-acceptance. The road to self-improvement is not eliminating your flaws. The road to self-improvement is self-acceptance. Understanding that everything is part of the kingdom of heaven. That's what we put into the law. That peace, that grace, that understanding. And we put paradox into the law too. Understanding that our logical software, our common sense, may not be adequate for understanding all of the details. Just like I didn't really understand all the physics of using the hula hoop, and I read about it. I didn't completely understand all of it. I don't necessarily understand how the law works, how God works, but I can tell God the what it is I wish to experience, which is love and joy and peace and so much more. Speaking of putting paradox into the law, last fall when I taught foundations class, I'd rewritten the foundations curriculum, and in the beginning of the first class, I asked the students to set an impossible intention. Now, I didn't receive any objections from anybody, but there are people in this movement that will say, what do you mean impossible? We don't use that word here. Gino Walker, one of our singers, came and sang The Impossible Dream one time. And afterwards she said, oh my gosh, was it okay that I said impossible? Because sometimes ministers make me change it to possible. And I'm like, no, we do impossible here. We do impossible here because it motivates and moves something in us that is deeper than our logical mind. And so Mary Kerrigan is going to come up and tell us about her impossible intention.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Some of you know that I'm the choir director here at VCSL, and I love being the choir director, and I love people enjoying what the choir does, and I especially like having people join the choir and be able to enjoy the joy of singing together and bringing that to our community. So at one time, a while back, before the impossible intention, in another class, we had been asked to, or Bonnie had talked about fail. You know, set an intention so big that you can fail. And so I set the intention that more people would join the choir and just love it and enjoy it and bring more music forward. And I failed. So more people didn't join the choir. In fact, we lost members of the choir that year. So I failed.
You're welcome.
So I contemplated that when the impossible intention came up. So I put it out there again. The impossible intention is that the choir will grow just because I want more people to enjoy being in the choir and have that fun. And, but it was impossible. So I would say, yeah, my impossible intention is for the choir to grow and more people to enjoy being in the choir. But what happened is I thought it was impossible. So I didn't put my ego into it. I didn't put myself into it. I just thought, well, it's impossible, so I don't have anything to do. Before, when it was failing or succeeding, my ego got hooked into wanting to succeed. But, if it's impossible, I can't do the impossible. So I just let it go and thought, okay. We had so many people join the choir this year. We had 3 new people come and sing the Christmas Eve service. We had 3 more people after the New Year join the choir, and the energy is growing. And I believe it's because I let Spirit do the impossible, do what I couldn't do. So.
Thank you, Mary. It's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. So just to make that really clear for everybody, the point of saying impossible is not to shut yourself down. It's to open yourself up. It's to open yourself up not to the possibilities of the ego, but to Spirit's possibilities, right? Just getting out of the way and letting God be God. How about that? Anybody have a plan about how to do that? One thing that will help is prayer. That we offer prayer down at the front of the what is this, sanctuary? Sanctuary every Sunday. We have beautifully well-trained, skilled practitioners that are experts in prayer, and they are honored to pray with you. So today would be a great day to get prayer, and especially a great day to get prayer because we're talking about it. But sometimes we use prayer as a last resort, don't we? Particularly when we're in, say, a place where prayer is forbidden, like a school, right? You have to separate prayer from the school system. Am I wrong? I thought you're not supposed to do that. Well, legally, you're supposed to separate prayer from the school system, right? Although one of my friends said as long as there's trigonometry, there will always be prayer in the schools. Usually begging God, please God, cosine, I don't know what that is. So Mary explained how these principles that we teach here worked within the confines of the church, right? With the expanding confines of the church. I'm going to have Peter talk about how these principles work in his workplace, which is a school. Peter is a 3rd grade teacher, so he's going to come up and talk about that for us. Here you go. Thank you.
So first I want to talk about the impossible, and that's me being up here.
Oh, good.
Out of my total comfort zone. And then I'm going to choose, then I'm going to choose faith and put my notes away and just talk. And it was a really interesting experience where I want to call them the wild ones and the quiet ones in my classroom. And the wild ones would come in like a tornado, just twisting up and twirling around and causing a lot of commotion. And the quiet ones would come in and they really wanted to be focused and working. The wild ones probably would take 90% of my energy and time. The quiet ones would take about 10% of my energy and time. And I was in the middle of that, conflicted, because I wanted to give my quiet ones 100% of my time. And the wild ones, I wanted them to become quiet ones. And so I prayed that these wild ones would find the perfect classroom, the perfect school, the perfect teacher that could meet their needs. And I prayed that they would find the right place for them. And 1 month would go by, and then another month, and then another month, and I'm getting more and more exhausted and tired. And then finally it dawned on me, well, why not try another prayer? So I came and got a prayer from a practitioner, as well as taking the Busting Loose class. And I had to shift my thinking to what I really want is a calm and peaceful classroom. The very next day, several of the wild ones were sick. And it was so calm and so peaceful, and we got so much learning done that day. It was magical. The following day, they returned. And by recess time, they were back in Whirlwind, and they ran off for recess. The recess bell ended. All the quiet ones came on in. They sat down, and I noticed that the wild ones hadn't returned just yet. So I go, okay, I've got some time right now to start teaching my mathematics. I'll do some multiplication and some division with my quiet ones while it's quiet and they can focus. So I got about 15 minutes to the lesson, and finally the wild ones come whirling on in. And this time they started screaming, Mr. Frank, Mr. Frank. You wouldn't believe what we found. Well, first of all, I've got to tell you, they went over to the kind of forbidden zone of the playground, of course. And it's forbidden because there's no adult supervision over there, and nobody's supposed to be playing in that area. But when they were in that area, they found a shopping bag and a bunch of trash, and they filled that shopping bag up with trash. And look at all this trash. Can we go back there right now and go pick up more? And part of me wanted to say yes, so I could keep teaching. And the other part was like, no, you need to come in and sit down and calm down. We're doing multiplication and division. So I continue with my math lesson, and the quiet ones are working, and they're already on their homework and their assignments. I go on over to the wild ones who are not doing their math that I had given them, but they're there saying, well, okay, there's 3 recesses. If we take 5 minutes per recess, that'll be 15 minutes a day. We can go on out there and do some cleanup. So they have already planned 15 minutes every day that they're going to go and do some cleanup. They got in their mathematics without my intervention or instruction. And then they go into their division. Well, if we can get 10 people to join our group, then 10 divided by 5 days in a week, that means 2 people every day can do it. So now they're getting their division in without my instruction. And so this goes on. That day after school, they got on their bicycles, unbeknownst to me, went to the 99-cent store, bought some more bags, bought some gloves, came back the next morning with a poster, and now they have Clean Our Campus, Go Green, Keep It Clean. They have a whole committee and crew and subcommittees of cleaning up this whole entire campus. Every 5 minutes, somebody's on duty cleaning up. And they still have their whirlwind of energy, and I'm still able to teach. But it really was like a big shift. And from that, I've got to say that it grew to something else that I didn't expect, and I haven't even shared with you yet, that that's been going on for probably about a month now of this cleanup crew. Then they started collecting bottles and cans and glassware, and they turned that in and got cash for that. And I'm thinking in my head they can use that cash to pay for their supplies that they've been buying. Well, instead, just the other morning, they come running on in with a jar and another poster, and they're setting this up in the office. They go, you know, we want to set up a fundraiser now with all this money for people with cancer. We want to find a cure for cancer. And they're just going to put it out there and keep that developing and keep that growing. So it wasn't quite the prayer that I started with. It wasn't what I quite expected, but something bigger and better and more beautiful than what I could have ever dreamt of came up.
Thank you. Thank you. there's not very much I can add to Mary and Peter and Jennifer's beautiful, beautiful contributions to this service, but just, get the point of Peter's prayer too. You know how you pray and it's like you pray and it has to look this way, and this is how it's going to work. I'm going to do this step and this step and this step and this step. Maybe not. Maybe just surrender and realize that this law, that this spirit, that this love that is so much vaster and so much more infinite than any one of us, than any collective of us, that is the love that runs the entire universe, that it is always working for us, and it has a much bigger idea than what we could ever have. So, I invite you to take these principles home with you, make them personal, pray, trust God, trust the law, and live that sweet and beautiful life that you so deserve. Let's do that now, and let us pray. And so turning within, we just breathe into this beautiful spaciousness and just trust that we have experienced a shifting of energy in this sacred vortex that we call our sanctuary. That hearts have been opened, that minds have been lifted, that bodies have relaxed. And that here, once again, we remember that we are that vital and beautiful presence that is love. Because there truly is only one life, and that life is love. That life is goodness, that life is wholeness, that life is peace. That life is so big that it is the peace and the wholeness and the goodness beyond opposites. It is that place of grace where when we relax our thinking minds and sink into the mind of the heart, we start to realize, we start to apprehend, we start to recognize that this is true. Not only for the world, not only for something out there, but for something in here, in each and every one of us. There is this presence of grace and goodness that is longing to serve through us, longing to serve us, longing to serve through us, longing to express itself in infinite creative ways. And so when we pray, when we surrender our prayer into God, we let God come out and play in bigger and greater and more wonderful ways, in deeper and sweeter and more meaningful ways. And we trust that every outcome is a precious step along the path of creating greater wholeness for each and every being. And so here in this sacred circle, in this sacred vortex, we commit to prayer. We commit to trusting God. We commit to the transformation that is already ours as it expresses through us in wonderful ways. We commit to being together and lifting each other up in peace and love and harmony. We commit to our practitioners that are doing the beautiful work of praying for this community. And we commit to one another always, always knowing the highest and best for all things. And so I'm so grateful for this teaching, so grateful for this spiritual community, so grateful for the transformation that I know has occurred in many lives today through the work that we have done together. And I bless all paths to God. Churches, synagogues, temples, mosques, ashrams, all paths. And with a heart that is so filled with blessedness, I say thank you, Spirit, thank you, love, and I release these words into the divine mystery of the law, and together we say, and so it is. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed.
Take a breath and turn around if the day's got you down, a little tired and a little downhearted. Take a break, ease your mind, that's the only way to find what you need. And instead of sitting asking why, never know until you try, you'd feel better if you'd ever get started. Waste of time being blue, if it's to be, it's up to you. Would you please keep the faith? It's just over the next hill, right on the horizon. Do you see it when you close your eyes? Keep the faith, it's on its way, yeah. You would be amazed to find the power of the mind that's doing battle with that box in the corner. Ever heard loud and clear, you must have a purpose here? Well, it's true, and you only have to plant the seed, let the flowers kill the weeds, and do forgive me if that's too California. But I know without a doubt what goes in is what goes out. What's in you? Tell it. Keep the faith, it's just over the next hill, right on the horizon. Do you see it when you close your eyes? Keep the faith, it's on its way. No one ever changed a nation fighting for their limitations. So just be sure what you're fighting for. Let the flowers bloom around you, baby. Let your dreams surround you. Whatever you can hold in your mind and your heart, you can hold in your hand. Trust me. Keep the faith. It's just over the next hill, right on the horizon. Do you see it when you close your eyes? Keep the faith, it's on its way. Yeah. Listen to your heart and keep the faith. It's just over the next hill, right on the horizon. Do you see it when you close your eyes? Keep the faith, it's on its way, yeah. It's on its way, yeah, yeah. It's on its way. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us. Please go through those doors there if you'd like to get some refreshments or shop in our Priceless Pricing bookstore. Someone will explain to you what that means if you're new. And there's lots of great things to sign up for. So let's do our affirmations. Please repeat after me. We are a center of love.
We are a center of love.
We are love.
We are love.
We share love.
We share love.
We serve love.
We serve
Love
love.
is what we are.
Love is what we are.
Thank you for our love.
Thank you for our love.
Thank you for our life.
Thank you for our life.
And so it is.